And now she's ready to show the entire WWE Universe what she can do.
WWE 2K25 recently released its first DLC pack, New Way. It features the Motor City Machine Guns, Alex Shelley and Chris Sabin, Giulia, and Stephanie Vaquer. And they all look great, especially Stephanie Vaquer. It also features a celebrity guest, which is suspected to be Travis Scott, but it hasn't been revealed yet. Which I find insane considering the DLC is out and viable, yet people are paying for someone they might not even care for. But it would make sense if it were Travis, considering he is rumored to be teaming up with John Cena soon in a match. It is all but confirmed that the celebrity guests will be KSI and Travis Scott. The NBA players will be Jalen Brunson, Tyrese Haliburton, and Shaquille O'Neal.
Oh God! What do you call this? Is this game 8? Not tonight! Not in the garden!
I completely understand why people are mad at this though. I've spoken about it before, but I always feel like these kinds of extras should be supplementary to the content people want versus the only content people are getting. The backlash stems from the fact that with most of the DLCs, you're wasting development time on trying to fill celebrity endorsements and push sales, than actually giving people a strong DLC roster. And unfortunately, this is the way things are going, especially after the TKO merger. I fear that the DLC, much like WWE sometimes, is becoming a mockery of itself, focused on money rather than quality. While there are stars everyone wants and will play with, such as Stephanie Vaquer and MCMG, people just don't care much for celebrity DLC packs. And they especially aren't gonna care for them when they take up the majority of the DLC pack. Let's take next month's Duncan Destruction DLC for example, releasing on June 25th. Abyss, Great Khali, and 3 NBA stars to be announced. If you're not a fan of the NBA, you're asking your consumer to pay full price for a pack only to get 2 superstars. And I understand, you don't need to buy the DLC for these games, you can still enjoy it without, but it's the principle of things like asking them to pay for the Great Khali, who has been on and off disc so many times that the idea of paying for him feels insane too.
This is unreal! What a maneuver!
Now, to play devil's advocate, I can equally see the appeal of a celebrity run of DLC. For them, it gives them exposure to a franchise that could really use it. It allows celebrities to tell people, hey, here's a new wrestling game, I used to play these games and now I'm so excited to be in one. Travis Scott is one of the biggest artists in the world, one of the most recognized names. He can say to his millions of followers, I'm in this game, go play it, and you'd imagine a good amount of conversions would happen. And for the casual player, if you don't know much about Jordan Grace but you love KSI and the Sidemen, I can see why you'd want to buy that pack. It's bridging the gap between casual consumer and hardcore player in hopes of turning more casual consumers into hardcore players. And on that front, I absolutely get it. But when the casual player loads up the game, plays a handful of matches and maybe a mode, buys the DLC pack, gets bored, uninstalls and never plays it again, sure, a sale is a sale, but then once the dust has cleared, who is left feeling neglected still playing your game? Oh, that's right, it's the hardcore players you neglected to push the island. Which, sidebar, but the island is one of the most lifeless modes and I struggle to even care about it anymore. Like I said on the road to the game, I'll give it a chance and I'm just not a huge fan. I wasn't a huge fan when NBA did it and I'm certainly not a huge fan when WWE does it. But I could at least see the vision for something like the island if it added into the overall experience of what makes these games fun, being the creativity. But I just don't enjoy having to grind various modes like the island and my faction to unlock said creativity. The island has done so much damage to community creations and creations alike, and it is a bummer. And for a franchise whose history lies in creativity, wacky storylines, even wackier modes, the success of this franchise was built on the creation suite, and year after year, it seems like you're on a mission to kill it. And I truly believe that there are still some devs that are trying to save it and fight for the way things used to be, because I've spoken to them and I can see it. But I worry in this post-TKO merger landscape that WWE 2K games are just the most recent casualty of everything needing to revolve around profit. There have certainly been others, but others that have equally received criticism. For example, you saw how badly the Pat McAfee and Friends DLC backfired, but it appears no one is learning their lesson. Whether it's the 2K devs themselves, or it's someone higher up at WWE just not understanding what the pulse is and why they are so far off it. Not all of the DLC packs are bad. For example, Jordan Grace, Penta, and New Jack, and Bull Nakano will make fine additions to the game come July. Having Abyss in a WWE game is equally as welcome by many. In September, Mark Henry, D'Lo Brown, Victoria, absolutely. The New Age Outlaws, absolutely. I'll be honest, I'm not touching anyone from the pack in November, all due respect, but I just have no interest and it's another waste of time to me. There's always 1 or 2 DLC packs that are lacking people from the current day and are instead filled with legends that very few care about. I simply can't see myself using Paul Orndorff or Tito Santana, and I think the people who would are such a small minority in this day and age. It's times like this where I wish 2K had some kind of demographic that showed how many people play with each superstar. It would be so insightful, because I guarantee people would rather see stars of today like Miles Bourne, Ariana Grace, Adriana Rizzo, Jasmine Nix, Carmen Petrovic, Zarya, Luca Crucifino, OTM, among others. I know people really wanted to see the NXT/TNA crossover utilized more with stars like the Hardys or even Joe Hendry. Even Joe Hendry himself before launch hinted at something like this and discussed it further.
Oh, I'll add another. Something that would be wonderful for both companies and most importantly the fans. Can you imagine if we had a TNA DLC?
Oh my god.
That would be huge. And that's not just the modern roster like myself. That could be classic AJ Styles, you know? That would be exciting. You may remember I was talking about which games I could appear in. Well, guess what? Multiple video game developers have got in touch and we're just about ready to make an announcement.
It's bizarre to me that you managed to get Abyss in the game, who is TNA through and through, now working backstage at WWE. You have Jordan Grace, who, while she may now be in NXT, she is another clear TNA nod. So it's disappointing that you couldn't full send on something like that the fans of these games really wanted and have been asking for, instead opting for the likes of KSI and Travis Scott for the sake of publicity. There were also some problems I know with Xbox players getting this DLC, which added to the outrage of yesterday. The DLC being more and more disappointing each year builds into a larger issue, and that's, I don't feel like 2K games have a true soul anymore.
I don't want that. I want your soul.
Don't get me wrong, you can still absolutely find enjoyment in these games, 100%. My Rise is still fun to me and it provides countless hours of how these games once felt. There's still an okay amount of creativity at your fingertips that you don't need to pay or grind for. And if you care about graphics, the majority of the models and overall appearance of the game is class. The gameplay and match types have steadily been improving for years now, and I think it's in a really good place. Playing against Impossible Slider's legendary CPU is absolutely amazing. The recent AI additions have made the CPU that much more realistic and interesting. And yet still, I load up this game and it feels soulless. It doesn't provide the same replay value of a 2K14, 2K19, SVR07 or SVR 2011. Initially, I thought maybe it's because I'm older now and perhaps my suspension of disbelief has wavered. But anytime I go back to those games, they prove to me that they're still as goated as we remember. The soullessness of recent games is largely down to not only the treatment of the core audience, but most of the modes you look at on the menu are completely lifeless. There is a serious knock-on effect after all these failed wrestling game rivals. For example, if AEW Fight Forever or one of the others managed to steal away a portion of the fan base, then maybe 2K would see the competition and it would spark a wake-up call. But sadly, that game flopped and thus 2K are the dominant ones in the field doing whatever the hell they want. The original online mode is a buggy mess that has been neglected for some time, and I know I'm not the only one that feels this way. Showcase, you play it through once to unlock everything and then you never think of it again. My GM is decent, the mode has a lot to love, but the online launch was a huge misleading disappointment. I see a universe mode long past its prime. Of course, it continues to receive small updates year on year, but you'll never convince me that those resources wouldn't be better spent on a story designer or something else. I don't really want to run around somewhere buying Nike products with VC and playing one-dimensional storylines that look like this. While there may be shining lights here and there that I can talk about, this franchise has overall become such a shadow of its former self. What a shame it is that wrestling games have transformed from creative wonderlands to drab grey wastelands full of microtransactions, along with shameless DLC packs that don't provide any value to the game, giving us pointless additions instead of wrestlers in a wrestling game.